to it. All right, what else? Okay, there's more. That's number 4. Let's listen.
During these years, although the prince and princess were separated, she was still going to be our next queen. And these foreign VIPs treated her accordingly. Her successful overseas work was good for Great Britain plc, but someone at St James's Palace must have thought otherwise. The Prince of Wales was paying the princess's bills. Curiously, details of her clothing and grooming expenses were leaked to the press.
That's the thing. Same thing with Meghan, but this time Meghan was paying her own way. Same thing, you know, putting the how much she spent on this, how much this and that. Meanwhile, that was all her own money. Same thing is repeating, recycling.
Which duly labelled her extravagant.
Wow, same thing.
One recipient of these leaks was Richard Kay.
There it is. Same
there
people.
Was a certain amount of envy, it seemed to me, at the way the princess managed to turn around her life post-separation. She appeared to be going in a certain direction, which I don't think either St James's Palace, the courtiers of the Prince of Wales, or those at Buckingham Palace were terribly happy about.
That's the thing. They don't want people to be happy. They want them to be suffer. They keep on inflicting pain, inflict, and you're supposed to take it and suffer. Meanwhile, people want to change their lives. Same thing is happening right now. Exactly the same thing is going on right now. Harry and Meghan are moving on with their lives. Okay? They're not happy about that. But yet, they want to inflict pain. Same thing is happening.
Fever. Red carpet 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 fever.
I remember on one occasion, and I was briefed quite specifically by a senior Foreign Office source, that as far as they were concerned, by that stage, the princess was a thorn in the Queen's side.
Wow. And then you have the same key players that still playing in the same narrative again. They're still alive. Oh my Lord. Now the only thing that is preventing from running with their nonsense, we have the Sussex squad to stop with their nonsense. It's the same thing that's repeating. The same blueprint.
Everybody in the Foreign Office used to take that view. Successive foreign secretaries made it very clear to the princess, and to me, that she was doing a great job and should be allowed to carry on doing it. At that time, there was so much briefing and counter-briefing going on that even loyal servants of the Crown didn't know where their loyalties should lie. Then, from the very heart of the establishment came an unprecedented bit of guidance. Loyal courtiers and old friends of the prince were cleared to talk to Jonathan Dimbleby. He'd been chosen by St James's Palace to write an approved biography of the prince. It was supposed to be a book on his whole life, but the thing that everyone wanted to know about was the marriage and his views on the princess.
This was official, it was sanctioned by St James.
Oh, damn it. Each time they get to the good thing and then it stops.
Had the
It continues.
fingerprints of the private secretary all over it, that he was in the driving seat, so everybody was given the nod and the wink to cooperate. And cooperate they did.
Listen to that. This is very crucial. I've said this as well, where I did say something with Trump, with Michael Cohen, when they were, when Michael Cohen was, in Washington, they were being, I forgot the term. All right. He said something where sometimes Trump doesn't need to say certain things. He just look at you in a certain way. You're supposed to know what he mean by that. And this is exactly what this guy just said here. Oh my God, I can't believe I was right. I don't remember which video I said that, but there it is here. Give the nod, and then everybody knows where to fall. Listen.
Of the private secretary all over it, that he was in the driving seat, so everybody was given the nod and the wink to cooperate.
Okay, everybody was giving the wink and the nod to cooperate. I said this. I said this in one of the videos, and there he is repeating it. All right, they don't need to tell you verbally. You just look at them a certain way. When you are around certain people, when they look at you a certain way, you know what they mean. And this is exactly that. There he is again.
Fingerprints of the private secretary all over it, that he was in the driving seat, so everybody was given the nod and the wink to cooperate.
There it is.
And cooperate they did.
There it is.
Everybody on the inside knew that Dimbleby was talking to some of the princess's fiercest enemies. And I had a good idea that they would be saying she was mentally unstable.
Wow.
This piece of spin had to be challenged, so I arranged for Dimbleby to meet her at a private lunch. There he could judge for himself what she was really like.
Wow.
During the lunch, the princess was on really good form. Very royal, but also very funny, and very obviously sane. After she'd gone, somebody asked Dimbleby if she was how she'd been described to him. He looked thoughtful for a minute and then said something like, "Well, if I can't believe what I've been told about her, then I can't believe any of it." Dimbleby's recollection of the lunch is different. His book raised the question of the princess's mental stability.
Wow.
And it had been proofread by the prince. Dimbleby quoted a courtier who said,
"Her general demeanour seemed like something out of a nightmare."
Oh
Beyond
my
all
God.
Well, I don't think I was allowed to have any. I think that I've always been the 18-year-old girl he got engaged to, so I don't think I've been given any credit for growth. And my goodness, I've had to grow. Quite a difficult pregnancy. I hadn't been very well throughout it. So by the time William arrived, there was great relief because it was all peaceful again, and I was well for a time. Then I was unwell with postnatal depression, which no one ever discusses postnatal depression. You have to read about it afterwards. And that in itself was a bit of a difficult time. You'd wake up in the morning feeling you didn't want to get out of bed, you felt misunderstood, and just very, very low in yourself.
And out of control.
and he concluded,
Whatever clinical or psychiatric label was appropriate to the princess's distress, its effect on her marriage to the prince could hardly be in doubt.
Oh, my lord. My lord, my lord, all these people are baggage for you. I can't believe these people. The thing is that Charles was never invested. I know I'm repeating this. He never invested in that marriage. He wanted out. So he was creating something to give him a reason to get out of that marriage. Alright, so he may get all these people involved when all he could have easily said, he wants a divorce. Oh, from the get-go. I've said this before. Just tell Princess Diana your intention from the get-go. Whether she agrees with it, you know, just born me children and I'll be with my mistress or whatever. You get all the publicity or whatever. All he had to say from the get-go. If Princess Diana agree with him, is a yes or no, or go ahead, or look for another woman who will do that. I'm sure there are women who will be more than happy to do that. But no, he rather do the lie, manipulation, those nonsense tittle-tattle all around her, make all those people against her and all of this. It didn't have to be that way. It's just pure stupidity. And then he's repeating that again. Alright, and Harry and Meghan just left.
A year after Dimbleby's book, and without consulting me, the princess gave a dramatic interview.
You see, this is the thing.
She was
Everybody around her was against her. So she had to do something. That's her response to that, I assume.
determined to make the point about who was to blame for the failure of the marriage, in a way no one would ever forget.
Panorama.
Well, there were
Panorama.
3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
There it is.
She went on to say something extraordinary that I had often heard her say in private.
Do you think the Prince of Wales will ever be king?
I would think that the top job, as I call it, would bring enormous limitations.
And she's right about every single thing of it. And then they're making, oh my God, I can't believe they even make her son turn against her. I can't freaking believe this. And with all this documentary out there, and for that freaking son then see or take a time to listen for himself before he make that stupid statement.
But for the prince's advisors, things suddenly became simpler.
I think the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, presented an opportunity for a complete relaunch of the Prince of Wales. So much bad publicity in the previous years that here was an opportunity of representing the man, the Prince of Wales.
You would have think, but they shoved their head back into the Stone Age even before that.
The prince had
Prehistoric.
been persuaded that his public image needed a top-of-the-range professional handler.
He's a freaking
One
baggage
of
for
the new
God.
breed of spin doctors, then the height of fashion in politics. He hired Mark Boland.
Oh Lord.
Boland was very well connected and had links to New Labour through his friendship with Peter Mandelson. He had previously been the director of the Press Complaints Commission. For a man whose job was to restore the prince's image in the newspapers, he had a network of exciting contacts. I remember
The thing is that if your character, well, like Harry said, it's your character. If your character stinks, no matter how much money they pour onto creating that new image, you will still be shitty. Because if you don't know how to behave and act around people, no matter who the person is, you'll still be stink. My goodness, he still haven't changed yet.
remember back in 1989, listening to the prince expressing frustration about something in the papers. And somebody said, wouldn't it be nice to be able to fight fire with fire? And he liked that idea, but after some thought decided that even if it was possible, it would probably be a mistake. But things had changed by 1997, and with Mark Boland and his circle of friends, the prince at last had the means of turning the tables. One of the people selected for special treatment was me. I told both Buckingham Palace and St. James's Palace I was going to write a book about my time working for the princess. My book didn't show her as a saint, but it was affectionate, and it was true. Nonetheless, St. James's Palace decided to portray it as an attack on her.
What?
That's what happened when they know ahead of time how they could prepare themselves to spin the narrative. So him knowing that the book was going to be written about Diana, they already prepared themselves for the narrative. That's what happened. Okay, this is why they always want to know ahead of time. Every interviews, like the princes, I believe they did with ITV, they wanted to see the videos before it was aired, so they could start thinking of a spin on it. So them knowing about the book, this is how they prepare for it.
And took the credit for being her defenders. I was branded as the man who betrayed Diana.
And it's funny because a lot of, they take any opportunity to make themselves look good while they're still being shitty. Because every time he speaks, that the narrator of this video, every time he speaks about Princess Diana, it's always positive. I don't know. I don't know what the UK is missing when they're hearing directly from the horse's mouth, because it's that same guy who was saying about the bureaucracy that goes into royal family when Princess Diana suggested that to call the Queen directly to get the information from her or the response from her right away. So I thought that was a nice story to say about Princess Diana.
Can I tell a little story? Please. Before they split up, Charles and Diana twice a year would have a program meeting where they would sit with their staffs and plan their diaries for the next 6 months. And this had obviously begun when the Prince was a bachelor, as a kind of a get-together with his close advisors to decide what they were going to do. And it had morphed into this huge meeting. The Prince's people on one side of a long table, and Diana and her people on the other. And the last couple of these meetings that we had, I can remember there was Diana and me and maybe a lady in waiting. And there'd be maybe 20, 30, 40 people on the other side of the table. It was a stark visual reminder of what had happened to what had been previously a united household. But because we were that small, it reflected Diana's own preferences to be responsive, to react quickly to things, and she didn't like red tape. She was very good at doing her work, very disciplined, but she didn't like officialdom. So one time the Prince of Wales was debating whether or not to do a particular engagement, and he wondered if his mother might do it instead, and his private secretary said, well, I will write a memo to the Queen's private secretary. And Diana leaned across the table and said, there's a telephone over there, why don't you pick it up and ask her yourself? And he did, like a man in a date. And he went to the telephone, he picked it up, he got put through to the Queen. The Queen said, yes, of course I'll do it. And he came and sat back at the table and looked at Diana as if she was some sort of a miracle worker, because everything else was a wonderful British bureaucracy. Diana knew how to cut through it to get what was required.
But yet, these people still behaving like shit.
Prince William criticised my book at a press conference.
Oh, God. Oh, really?
Of course, Harry and I are both quite upset about it, that our mother's trust has been betrayed, and that even now she's still being exploited.
I didn't even know. Back then, they still, oh my God. Oh, thank God they didn't even bother working with Harry, because the nonsense that they put on his head, oh my God. Should I feel sorry for him? Look, even as he said that, look at the demeanor in his face. Oh my God. So he bring William to say it, so he doesn't look like he's the bad one. Oh my God, they manipulate this guy. They manipulate him. Oh my Lord, I feel sorry for him.
That Charles has been lying.
All right. Oh, and there's more. Let's go to that one.
I know a lot of people who are in their camp.
I was threatened by the Prince's lawyers for breaching my confidentiality undertaking, but members of the Prince's household had, it seems, been cleared to speak to Penny Junor. It appears that the confidentiality undertaking is being used in a rather selective way.
There it is.
Confidentiality undertakings, I think, only apply to members of the household. I talked to precious few members of the household.
There you are.
Some though, didn't you?
There you are. You admitting it right there. You spoke to some of them, but you're not being whatever. Very selective when it comes to certain things. Whatever fit their narrative, that's what they go about. Oh my Lord.
A few, but not many.
What does all this tell you about the application of confidentiality undertakings in the household?
What it says about confidentiality is selectivity.
There it is.
You can be selective in the way that you choose. You choose people that are going to say all the lovely things that you want to hear.
Exactly.
And those who are critical, you can leave them off the let's speak list.
Exactly. That's exactly, because they want to paint that picture of Princess Diana as bad. But now he's talking his own experience, all right? his own experience, his time with Princess Diana as a reasonable way, but no, it should have been negative. It should have been all negative, then that'll be okay. Oh my Lord, you better do something with that freaking firm. Huge baggage for you.
Devoted a whole chapter to listing the symptoms of the princess's alleged psychiatric disorder. She concluded with the words,
"It is doubtful that any man could have helped Diana,
Wow.
and probable that Charles stuck with it longer than most."
What?
it's passed into the public consciousness that the Princess of Wales wasn't really all right, that she was mentally ill in some way. Did you ever get anybody from St James's Palace contradicting you in that analysis?
No, but I didn't specifically ask anyone at St James's Palace.
Oh my God.
I mean, St James's Palace saw the manuscript.
And didn't correct anything you wrote about borderline personality disorder?
Didn't make any comment about the borderline personality disorder.
Oh, thank God for this courtier, private secretary of Princess Diana. My goodness, her own son, disregard Harry, because Harry tried not to touch this subject at all in some shape or form. But thank God, he's speaking her truth for her, because the older one rather going the route of, discrediting his mother. Wow, I give a lot of respect for that courtier, that private secretary.
Over the years, the prince has been quoted saying that he would never encourage his friends to attack the princess. And indeed, when Penny Junor's book was published, St James's Palace was quick to dissociate itself from it. But I discovered that the prince's new media manager, Mark Boland, had been
probably had been informed about it.
Princess's alleged psychiatric disorder. She concluded with the words,
"It is doubtful that any man could have helped Diana, and probable that Charles stuck with it longer than most."
it's passed into the public consciousness that the Princess of Wales wasn't really all right, that she was mentally ill in some way.
It's playing over.
Did you ever get anybody from St James's Palace contradicting you in that analysis?
No, but I didn't specifically ask anyone at St James's Palace. St James's Palace saw the manuscript.
And didn't correct anything you wrote about borderline personality disorder?
Didn't make any comment about the borderline
Shame on
personality
all these
disorder.
people.
Over the years, the prince has been quoted saying that he would never encourage his friends to attack the princess. And indeed, when Penny Junor's book was published, St James's Palace was quick to dissociate itself from it. But I discovered that the prince's new media manager, Mark Boland, had been involved with Penny Junor's book at the start.
That's why they want to fast forward it.
He had a meeting with me at the publisher at the very beginning of the project.
Wow.
From which he later dissociated the palace.
He dissociated himself, he dissociated the prince from having instigated the book or authorized the book or approved the book. He did not dissociate himself from having helped.
You could see the connection of things. She can't even figure out the word that she wants to say. You could see the connection of things, all right? The chain of event, the chain of information passing from one to another. But they made sure to protect Charles on that part, all right?
Mark Boland was simply a facilitator. He had access to some of the people that I might want to talk to.
He controlled them.
Control.
He didn't control them. Prince
Yeah.
of Wales controls them.
Control information. That's all.
Mark Boland met Penny Junor's publisher at the start of the project.
Wow.
St James's Palace saw the manuscript and made no comment on its allegations about the princess's mental health.
Yeah, because they talk negative
Red
about her,
carpet
so it's
fever.
all fine.
Red carpet fever. 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 Red carpet fever.
Their agenda shortly after her death, which allowed them to recommend the Prince of Wales to authorise people to speak to somebody he knew was going to be critical of his wife.
Mm-hmm. He'd had a lot of bad press. He'd had a tremendous amount of bad press.
Because of
this
his...
was perhaps perceived as an opportunity for him to start, to all intents and purposes, setting the record straight.
You know, bad press because of his own doing. And yet, you will think to fix that image that he's trying to portray, and he creates something completely all over that he didn't have to. All he had to do is come forward, either admit or don't admit certain things, but don't create something brand new to cover up some stupidity you done. That's the thing here. Oh my Lord.
I put it to Dickie that you don't set the record straight by endorsing a book that suggests the princess was suffering from a serious psychiatric disorder.
There it is.
Well, this is just one part of a book, isn't it? You know...
oh my Lord.
It's not the whole book. It's just one part
of it. It's the bit that people remember. What's the one thing that stuck from Penny Junor's book? It's borderline personality disorder.
Yeah. This is a difficult one.
That's what...
This is a very difficult one.
Don't know how to spend that one because it's the truth. This is the nonsense that they want people to portray her. And look at the same narrative that the Sun not too long ago came out to discredit the Panorama interview to say she's crazy. The same narrative that they're carrying on. They want to force feed people that Princess Diana is crazy when she wasn't. Everything she said is spot on. My goodness.
At the time, ill-advised, seen as an opportunity of setting some of the records straight, setting the record straight that he is not such a bad guy after all.
But he is.
But unfortunately,
he is.
They picked the wrong opportunity and the wrong subject.
All he had to do was to be truthful. But he's not. The whole thing, I think, with this, he's trying to protect, to say that, Camilla was not his mistress. But with everything that we've seen, he wants us to dismiss what we are seeing, what we are hearing, what we are feeling. But to only see what he sees. This is what is happening here. And then they're doing all this shenanigan to push that narrative to make you see what he sees. This is really purely stupidity.
Was it the moment when the dinner party chatter became whispers to journalists at the polo field?
Oh, you could not think I would ask that woman for tea without a thought for you, could you? The help here is everything, as we all know.
She has heard a good deal, in fact. Lord Birdbrook has a boy by one of his maids that he refused to provide for.
Was it when his friends told Jonathan Dimbleby stories suggesting the princess was mentally ill?
So we shall do what women do. We shall talk.
Or was it when Mark Boland walked into the office of Penny Junor's publisher?
Start from the beginning.
I don't know when it happened, but at some point, the Prince of Wales had crossed a Rubicon. Sometimes a loyal courtier has to leave his boss a bit of room for deniability. It seems to me there's rather a lot of that in this story. The discreet briefing, the unattributable source.
Yep.
But in the end, the Prince of Wales must surely take responsibility.
Exactly.
For what has been done in his name.
That's right. He's spot on. He is spot on. He never discredited them